Afternoon, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times with Arkansas News on Monday, March the 2nd. It is March. It's going to snow again this week, though. How about that? I'd say the lead news of the day was Governor Asa Hutchinson's announcement this afternoon that he's recommended Johnny Key to be the next Education Commissioner of Arkansas. He's a former state senator who left the Senate to be a University of Arkansas system lobbyist. He was chair of the Senate Education Committee during his time in the legislature. It's interesting because under current law, Johnny Key isn't eligible to be the Education Commissioner. The law requires that person to have a master's degree and to have experience as a teacher. I think they're going to change the law so that somebody who's had policymaking experience can hold the job. Johnny Key is well liked, was viewed as something of a bipartisan, at least from the Republican side of the aisle, a little bit of that. He's very closely identified, however, with the Walton Finance Education Reform Movement, and it certainly raises questions about whether some of their thoughts will find their way through him into some important issues, such as the state's running of the Little Rock School District. As Education Commissioner, he now will be effectively the school board for the city of Little Rock, and how he decides to handle that district as it moves forward under state stewardship is going to be something to watch. It'll be different than Tony Wood, who was a veteran school administrator who'll be leaving the department. He planned to leave, by the way, by June in any event. He's just moved it up a little bit. Asa Hutchinson said he's sure Johnny Key will be a great education commissioner. In theory, the education board itself makes the choice, but it would be fairly rare for that board to disagree with the governor, even though none of them currently are Asa Hutchinson appointees. Elsewhere this morning, the Independent Citizens Commission that will set pay for state elected officials, legislators, judges, and statewide officers, created by Amendment 94 to the Constitution, which was adopted by voters in November, met this morning to have a public hearing on the pay levels that it's already decided upon. There's been very little publicity about this group, and so as a result, only 2 people turned up to object. A couple of people said it was just too much money. But by and large, not much was said, with one notable exception. 2 members of the Arkansas Supreme Court, Justices Karen Baker and Joe Hart, appeared to say that the raises proposed for them, 11% raises to $166,000 a year, just simply wasn't enough. They've got to drive from out in the state, and the State Court of Appeals gets a little mileage allowance, and you just can't get a good judge for $166,000 a year. It was really kind of a surprising display by 2 justices, because Arkansas, its Supreme Court currently, before the 11% pay raise, ranks somewhere around 30th in the country in Supreme Court pay, even though we're the 48th poorest state in the country. But we'll see how they go. The Pay Commission will meet again March 16th, to finally put an end to this process. News on the gay marriage front. A judge in Nebraska today turned over that state's ban on same-sex marriage. Important because Nebraska had been one state on which the 8th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals had once years ago upheld a ban on same-sex marriage. They're going to fall. The state, as I speak today, has not yet filed, but is supposed to file by 5 o'clock today, its response to an order by federal judge Christine Baker to give cause why she should not vacate her stay of her ruling that the state's ban in Arkansas against same-sex marriage is unconstitutional. They'll file something today. We could expect action from the judge perhaps as early as the end of this week, perhaps even sooner. Attorney General Leslie Rutledge's office told me today that the state has a little financial windfall coming its way. That's not exactly how they put it, but I looked into the fact that the state won $21 million from Standard & Poor's in a multi-state class action lawsuit a couple of weeks ago. The money goes into the Attorney General's Consumer Education Division. However, the 2013 legislature put a $1 million cap on that money because Attorney General Dustin McDaniel was spending the money too freely and easily. That means something like $20 million is likely going to be available for the state to spend in some fashion. The Attorney General says she's talking to the governor and legislative leaders just about how to do it. One other money item, Tyson Foods has given $5 million, its biggest gift yet, to the University of Arkansas, and it's going to go towards sustainable agricultural research at the Division of Agriculture in Fayetteville. You might know there's a presidential campaign in 2016. You might have heard that somebody who used to live in Arkansas named Hillary Clinton might run. That's now guaranteeing stories nearly every day related to that campaign. Researchers are in Little Rock today and until it's all over with, looking for dirt on Hillary Clinton. So far, it's a somewhat more sophisticated form of dirt digging than we saw during the Ken Starr investigation some years ago. a lot of focus on the giving to the Clinton Foundation, which has prompted the Clinton Foundation to issue a long set of talking points. You can find them on our blog, talking about why there's nothing untoward about the fact that major people, corporations and individuals and foreign governments have given money to a charity that does humanitarian work around the globe. But this is going to be an issue in that campaign. Less of a substantive issue, but somewhat more reminiscent of the Kenneth Starr era, was news out of Politico and a Philadelphia newspaper today that an artist who did a portrait of Bill Clinton as president that was hung in a Smithsonian gallery 9 years ago hid what is symbolism for Monica Lewinsky's dress in the portrait. Well, kind of silly stuff, but I don't think that's the last of it we're going to see. And finally, talking about silly, the Arkansas legislature apparently is going to act on a resolution that will give the legislature a spring break 2 weeks from now. Yes, if kids can get a spring break, why shouldn't the legislature? They work awfully hard and they're about to get a 150% pay raise. They can have a good week in Florida on that money. What do you think? Florida sounds good right about now to me. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.